Hi guys, welcome to shop vlog number 31. This is what we're going to be talking about, so enjoy. Check this thing out. It is a gold hand plane. It's pretty cool. Not solid gold, of course, although anyone that picked this up would think that it's solid gold. I'm guessing there's not even gold in the finish, but I can't believe how heavy this little thing is. It's nearly a full pound, I think like 15 ounces. That is twice as heavy as this plane. I've been using this little guy for over a year now, and I really, really like this thing. And evidently Bridge City found out that I really like this thing, so they sent me a special gold one. I know, it's good to be me. The two planes, though, are essentially the same. They're the same size, they have all the same features, so why is this one twice as heavy? Those extra 7 ounces can't be just that gold color, got it? Well, it turns out the body of this one is milled from a solid piece of aircraft grade aluminum, which I knew, but the body of this one is milled from a solid piece of stainless steel. And while this one has aluminum depth skids, this one has titanium depth skids. So no wonder this thing feels like solid gold. It must have cost a fortune to make. Check this out though. You've got this little knob to adjust the throat, which you've seen on other block planes before, but look underneath. There's a little peak of gold underneath there too. I like those little details. But here's something that was actually on my original one too. If you loosen the knob to open the clamping mechanism, you'll see a little pad that stays on the iron. There's a rare earth magnet on there. I don't know that that little pad makes for a more efficient way to lock down the iron or not, but it's different. I like it. I also like how tiny and precise everything is. Look how fine the threads are on the adjustment knob. There is no backlash in that little mechanism. I did some figuring and it seems that 1/4 turn of that little knob advances or withdraws the iron 3/1000ths of an inch. And everything just fits together so precisely. There's not even a need for a lateral adjustment lever because the iron just slips in and self-squares to the sole. I don't know. Woodworkers work with their hands and they like their tools to be tough, but I like cute little dainty things. And this is a prime example of why I like these tools in particular. They can't just make a regular little block plane. They have to add some extra feature that the hardcore user will appreciate. I mean, depth skids that turn your block plane into a mini thicknesser. Come on, how cool is that? I'm not sure which one is my favorite, the HP8 or the HP8X. They're both essentially the same other than color and the materials. And price, this one is 3 times the price of this one. But this one and I already have a history together. Of course, this one looks extra cool. And if I tell people it's solid gold, they'll probably believe me. So there's that. I'll link to them both below so you can let me know in the comments which one you like best. The shop is getting taken over by white oak furniture. We have 3 desks, 4 wall cabinets, 3 floor cabinets and a file cabinet, and it's all getting near to being finished. We've been working with some white oak rough sawn that I bought off Craigslist a year ago. Like a lot of wood that you get on Craigslist, someone had a tree fall in their yard. They paid somebody to come mill it up into boards because they had this idea that they were going to make something really special with it someday. And it sat there for about a decade. And then they sold it for next to nothing to get rid of it. So their loss is my gain, right? Not so fast. Since there was a lot of it and the price was dirt cheap, I didn't look too closely. I just loaded it and I brought it over to the shop for storage, and that was about a year ago. Now that we started using it, I'm discovering that this is far from furniture grade. I mean, you expect knots and checks here and there. That's natural, especially from wood you get from somebody's backyard. You get what you pay for. But this had to be the knottiest, most twisted and gnarly oak tree in the entire state. It's almost like it is the top of the tree, that somebody already took the main trunk and got all the good stuff. There's a lot of wonky grain here, which can look cool. I mean, who doesn't like figure? But when you have all these dramatic changes in grain direction, you have stability problems. Internal stress will be released when you cut it and mill it, and it's not likely to stay flat and straight for long. We're not making rustic slab furniture. These are nice craftsman style cabinets. So we had to cut a lot of that crazy stuff out. We filled a bunch of trash cans with beautiful white oak kindling and made bags and bags of chips from the joiner and planer. I bet more than 50% of the wood is waste in one form or another, which makes that cheap wood a lot more expensive. Whether it's your own labor or labor you're paying for, like I'm doing here, it takes a lot of extra work to turn cheap wood into furniture. I may just cut up the last stack of boards and turn it into firewood. In the future, I'm not sure I can afford to save so much money on lumber. We're nearing the end of January, and I think so far, this has been one of the quickest winters I can remember. Don't get me wrong, we got a ways to go yet. We won't get weather we'd call spring-like here in Michigan until well into April. But November, December, and now most of January has passed without any really cold days that I can remember. I'm not sure if we're in a La Nina or an El Nino period right now. I haven't been able to sort that out since Farley died.
All other tropical storms must bow before El Nino.
And I'm definitely not going to get into a political discussion about climate change. I'm just saying I'm glad it hasn't been that cold yet, because it makes the winter seem to pass a lot more quickly. I'm already starting to get anxious to get out and get the kayaks back in the water. Did a lot of kayaking last year. There's a river launch just a couple blocks from the shop, and there's all kinds of other launches around this area. There's also a paved rail trail right here by the shop. I ride my bike on that quite a bit when the weather's nice. It's 20 miles round trip, and it is all paved, no cars, beautiful, lots of trees. It's fantastic. I think that's one of the side effects that has come from this pandemic. More people have been getting outside. I know I spent more time outdoors riding or kayaking or hiking this past year than in the 2 or 3 years combined, because there just wasn't a lot of other stuff to do. When things get back to normal, I hope that part at least stays the same. I'll be 43 years old this spring. Not going to be young forever. Of course, Mustache Mike never ages. He's an avid cyclist himself, and we ride together whenever we can. I think we have a bike camping trip planned for early summer. That'll be fun. Hope I can keep up with him. Until then, I have mixed feelings about the mild winter. It's great for hiking, and we've been doing a fair amount of that, but I wanted to try cross-country skiing this year, and we just haven't had the snow for it. I don't know, we'll see what happens in February. Let me know in the comments below what you do outside during the snowy winter months, assuming you live somewhere that you have snowy winter months. How about those Red Wings, eh? Obviously, a lot of folks notice my Red Wing can koozie, which has been sitting beside me in almost every video for nearly a decade now. Some compliment it, others give me crap because they're jealous. I especially laugh when rival hockey fans, like Toronto Maple Leafs fans, see the koozie and they tell me that the Wings suck and I should jump on their team's bandwagon. They forget that the Leafs haven't won crap since the original Six era, like this was that late 1960s. The Wings, on the other hand, are rebuilding for the first time in 30 years after a 25-year playoff run. That netted them 6 finals appearances, 6 President's Trophies, 4 Stanley Cups, and 14 divisional titles. That is a long run atop the league that lasted from the mid-90s until about 5 years ago. So now they're finally, for the first time in all that time, rebuilding, and the other teams that the Wings used to have their way with are now feeling superior, and that's fine. They can win a few while the Wings rest. Enough trash talk, though. I'm just glad to finally be watching hockey after COVID has just screwed everything up in sports. But I know most of you don't care about hockey, and I'm not going to bore you with it. I'm just going to explain why I have this can koozie. It's not just there to show pride in my favorite team. It has a function. It hides my computer mouse. Sometimes I have someone operating the camera and teleprompter for me. Sometimes I have to do it myself. This mouse controls things. But to preserve the magic, I keep it hidden behind the can. What's in the can? A cold one. What's a cold one? It's anything that's cold. Sometimes it's beer, a lot of times it's not. In fact, I'm not always even drinking out of the can. Like I said, it's there to block the mouse. And it's kind of become a tradition in the videos, you know, sit back and have a cold one and all that. Of course, the can hasn't been without controversy. Occasionally, some jerk off who sees the can in my shaky hands will get on me about being an alcoholic. Of course, as regular viewers know, my hands shake because of a degenerative genetic disease, not because I'm a big drinker, which I'm not. But some people just have to make themselves look like idiots in the comments. Others lecture me about having alcohol in the workshop, especially if I'm talking about safety. Someone is always so eager to call me a hypocrite that they never consider that I'm talking to a camera. I'm not using tools here. And as I said, you don't know what's in the can. Not necessarily beer. Could be a local Rock and Rye or Verner's. It could be empty. It could just be there for peeing so I don't have to stop filming. You don't know. The most common comment I get is from people who assume it's beer. They want to know what kind of beer I like. Some people try to guess what kind it is from the colors around the top of the can, and they're almost always way off. So let's see what it is today. It is Founders All Day IPA. Founders is a Michigan brewery. They're in Grand Rapids. They make all sorts of amazing craft beers, but All Day IPA is one of their most popular. You can actually get this stuff on tap in most restaurants around this area. It's a little bit more bitter than you may be used to if you're a Bud Light drinker, but if you like IPAs, you'll actually find it fairly mild. I like IPAs, especially in the summertime. Although in the winter I drink more stouts because, I don't know, a long time ago somebody told me that's what you do in the winter. This just happens to be still in the shop fridge. I obviously don't drink while I work, but vlogs like this are for hanging out, right? So let's sit back and have that cold one. Because you've earned it, my friend. At first glance, you may be taken aback by the tool's stunning form or its exceptional heirloom quality. But the most common phrase heard in the workshops of Bridge City tool users across the world is, huh, why didn't I think of that? Clever ideas, innovative features, uncompromising quality. Visit bridgecitytools.com today to see for yourself. Wait, don't go yet. If you're new here, please subscribe and remember to ring the bell. I would really appreciate that. Give us a thumbs up, or better yet, leave us a comment. I always read them. And be sure to check out the latest issue of Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal. It's always packed with tips, tricks, and tutorials designed to make you a better woodworker.